Greetings and welcome to the virtually connecting at the Connected Learning Summit 2018. I'm Nate Angel. I'm virtual buddying this session at the summit, and I work at Hypothesis, the Non-Connected Learning Summit 2018. I'm Nate Angel. I'm virtual buddying this session at the summit, and I work at Hypothesis, the Non-Connected Learning Summit 2018. I'm Nate Angel. I'm virtual buddying this session at the summit, and I
hold on one second.
The
That was experimental.
Sorry, that was a slight technical difficulty on my side. I had the recorded going in the background. My fault. So before, so that we can get started here, note everybody that I muted you, and so you'll have to unmute yourself, Greg, so that you guys can introduce yourself. And I'd actually like to take this opportunity then to hand the baton over to the folks on the ground at the Connected Learning Summit, so that you can do a round of introductions and we know who we're talking with. Greg, take it away.
Hi, this is Greg Dillon at the Connected Learning Summit. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
And we are here with Gardner Campbell and Sue Erickson, who did an amazing session yesterday. And we've had some really great talks here at the summit. And we're also joined by Jennifer. Do we want to introduce?
Yeah, why don't each one of the guests there say a short thing about yourselves for the record, so we know who you are, and people who come later also know.
That sounds like an awesome idea.
Okay, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Gardner Campbell, Associate Professor of English at Virginia Commonwealth University. And yeah, I guess that's all I need to say right now.
And I'm Sue Erickson, Library Director at Virginia Wesleyan University, down in the coast of Virginia.
I'm Jennifer England. I'm a PhD student and staff member at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, and one more second. We're going to be shortly joined. John.
Excellent. Guests coming in from the side door. Drum roll, please.
And bum ba
Hey.
You want to introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm John.
From?
I'm from Nigeria, Yaba College of Technology. So I'm involved in the intersection of education and technology. So whatever you say about that, I get into you and we'll get talking.
Got it. Okay. Well, let me give a chance for the virtual guests to introduce themselves too. Dipali, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, let me unmute myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Dipali Bush, and I teach at Folsom Lake College in California. And I would love to know what's going on there. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
And Jeremy?
I'm Jeremy Dean. I'm Director of Education at Hypothesis and a former high school and college English teacher. And I was supposed to be at the summit. And so this is my attempt to be there remotely.
Jeremy, I saw your name tag. I was looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, I should have RSVP'd, no, but I didn't. Apologies to the organizers.
Well, you're seeing him now. You know, one thing that we always like to get a picture of as we start out some of these sessions is, you know, what your guys's activity at the conference has been, and what are your, you know, I realize it's still going on, but what are your takeaways? So, you know, maybe start with you, Sue. What have you been doing at the summit, and what are you taking away so far?
The keynotes have been amazing, and so lucky me, I get to talk first, so I can talk about the amazing keynotes. The one yesterday, the first keynote, really talked about humor as part of learning, humor as a way into difficult conversations, talking about controversial issues. That was amazing, and that was really just two people on the stage having a conversation, and the rest of us laughing in the background. So that was fantastic. This morning's keynote was also fantastic, and gosh, or the map, but again, just really focused on learning. And so for me coming in, I think when I read about the summit, I thought, oh, I don't know, this looks like K through 12. I'm not sure I'm going to kind of find my place in this space. But it turns out there are people with a huge variety of roles here. And so that's one of the exciting things about being here. There are designers, there are gamers, others all over the map. And that's part of the exciting thing of being here, is having those hallway conversations, having the chats over coffee and tea in the morning.
The fact that the conversation is not just a monologue, kind of like some set of people talking to other sets that kind of like maybe they are in the same frame, in the same setting. Now, like she said, you've got the librarian and you've got the comedian and you've got the professor. And Baratunde was actually saying something about after a session yesterday that, oh, when I was told to come and give a keynote, I was kind of like standing in front of professors and all of that, and kind of like, oh my goodness, what's it going to be like? But he relatively enjoyed himself as much as the audience, because now the most important thing is that he was connecting and the audience were getting along. And come on, and when the questions came, and Joy Ito was kind of like fabulous too, with some insight that were really deep. So it kind of like balanced it from the academia perspective, and Baratunde was kind of like, okay, coming from the general societal view, and it's kind of like relates and connects practically. So everybody was kind of like, okay, good. Yeah, I can connect with this and this, and this is what I could actually take out of it. Was really fantastic. And for the keynote of today, she was awesome. Now, the kind of, you know, when it got to the time that everybody had to face each other and ask, what is fear? What is joy? And it's kind of like so many things start to come in the mind. And that's it. The absolute moment that you kind of like grew into the conversation and you own the discussion to with the other person, really connect practically. And that's the beauty about it. That guy.
Hey, Greg.
With us, Nate?
Yeah, we are. There was a couple of hiccups in the video. We got, it all came through, but I don't know if it is possible to plug in that Ethernet cable, but it might help.
I can work on that.
All right. But meanwhile, we did hear everything, and that's some interesting, sort of interesting that humor has been such a big part of the conference. Is that your experience too, Gardner?
Yeah, humor and tears. Yes, for this, found myself being overwhelmed in all sorts of wonderful ways. The keynote this morning, Michelle's talk, was really about abundance and about joy as something deeper and less conditional than happiness. And it was all, and this was true of yesterday's keynote as well, it was all it was all being aligned with this idea of building this beloved world, this beloved community. And, you know, certainly in this political and historical moment, in all of its dimensions, and in the history of computing, with all the dreams about the global village and how we might be able to build this, you know, world anew in a way that was really equitable and abundant. You know, it's as if all of that, including all the disappointments along the way and the tragedy along the way, all of that just keeps getting invoked here in ways that I'm really finding very overwhelming and kind of eerie. It's like everything that could resonate is resonating. And I feel like I'm just walking around this vibrating person. And it's quite amazing. I think it is answerable to the scale of the moment that we face. And it's hard to find that because we're all so busy. Who can be answerable to the moment? Well, apparently a lot of people can, and a lot of them are here. And that's a real gift.
I was, not having been at the keynote, I was curious about the idea of joy, and especially in the way that you were just talking, Gardner, with sometimes the darkness is descending, both generally politically, but also I think in a lot of the spaces we inhabit that at the intersection of technology and education. And I wonder what joy, it's something I've always tried to hold on to, but I see it flying away a lot of times. I see it sometimes intersecting with criticism in ways that are not, that are sometimes incompatible for me, at least personally. So I'm just curious about and also just the joy of conferences. I mean, this is a conference that's gone through a lot of different iterations, but I actually feel like of all the conferences I've been to, it's one where whatever I'm thinking about, at least as joy, is maintained, because there is such a diversity of groups of folks there approaching the problems from so many different places. It's hard to sink into a single line of thought that could go in a negative or too positive direction. But I guess I just want to hear more about what you guys think about joy, or what brings you joy, and what sometimes makes it hard to enjoy conferences and the work that we do. Some piece of that.
And I would like to add to, I would like to know about joys and also the challenges that we can build this wonderful, beloved community. So how can we, especially if, as an educator, how can we contribute something better with the community that we can build? Who will be there to answer those questions if they are available? Or I know there are so many scholars and folks out there, and they're always trying to help in whatever, but there are so many challenges. And how can we help? So I would like to know about that. Thanks.
You guys feel like you've, it sounds like there's a lot of emotions going around, but you feel like in the context of this summit itself that there are new sort of tactics that are popping up as a way to address the different kinds of emotions that are flowing through? New techniques? The same old ones?
No, I just said something, so I hate to speak twice in a row because there are other people. But I guess I would say that the focus of the emotion at the conference, for me, has been really like a compass. It's not like we're all trying to just, have the oceanic feeling, although I hope we do, because I'm a big fan of the oceanic feeling. Thank you very much. But it's like, so what orients our work? What orients the criticism? What direction does all of our abstraction and analysis and all of our many, many words take us in? What's really important? And one of the things that has so struck me about the conference is how there seems to be this space, and it's kind of unusual in my experience, where all of these questions that you just asked about how are we going to do better with the things that need to be better? How do we find new ways to approach issues of equity and access and so forth? All of those are coming out, and sometimes they're really pointed, and sometimes they're, they could, I don't know, they could take on the shape of, critique, and what do we do about the toxicity, and what are we going to do about it right now, and why are you toxic, and all the rest of that. I've seen that happen at other conferences. Here, and I don't know what it is. Is it the keynotes? Is it, the way Mimi thinks about things? It's hard to say, but everyone seems committed to keeping the space open for connection. So we're going to have a lot of stuff we have to analyze, and a lot of, hard questions we have to face, but it's all within this space. And both of the keynotes have been very clear about this, that space for connection and conversation must stay open, and that is no easy thing to do, and no one of us can do that all on our own. And it's keeping that space open where we're all at this table together that's been so refreshing here, and is not always the case in academia. where there's a lot of listening, the listening Michelle was talking about this morning. It's the listening you do to decide, are you my friend? Are you my foe? Are you with me? Are you against me? And there really, I don't feel that way here, even though there are really urgent questions of social justice being raised, you know, minute by minute throughout. So how do you keep that space open? I'm never sure, but they're doing it here. And I can just kind of watch and say, huh, look at this. This is kind of interesting. So that's all I had to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, can I just add?
Yeah, no, please.
I think a big part of it, at least from my perspective, is that that's one of the things that we all seem to share is that we hope that there's a better future. We're hopeful about education, and I think it's hard to be hopeful about education in certain circumstances today. But I think because we all kind of have this dream of it being different, and we're willing to try different things, we're willing to think about changing how we do what we do and learning from each other. So, we're talking together and learning from each other. We're open to other people's ideas, different ways of doing things. To what John definitely came up in this morning's keynote as well.
Yeah, and it looks like John did bring in another secret guest there. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ariam. What should I include? So I'm from New York, and I'm here with the Nairobi Play Project, which is based in Kenya.
Oh, could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because everyone else who's introduced themselves is sort of like a fairly, has an established role at a university that we all, or college that we all kind of understand, but yours sounds a little different.
Sure. So the Nairobi Play Project is, it's a program that's supported by UNICEF Kenya, and it's basically a creative computing initiative which supports intercultural competence between refugees and host communities. And the program currently runs in Kakuma refugee camp, which is in northern Kenya, and Nairobi, Kenya. So the goal is to use the process of making and computing to support the development of many different skills. So primarily intercultural competence between refugees who come from many different ethnic backgrounds, which is the case in Kakuma, but then also in places like Nairobi, where you have a lot of urban refugees who are, very siloed, kind of live on the fringes of society, and to help them to really integrate into host communities.
Interesting. And, we've been talking a lot about so far, and sorry, we're not all introducing ourselves, but we wouldn't want to bore everybody with that again. But we were talking a lot about some of the emotions that have come up in the context of this summit so far, in terms of both joy and sorrow, and, the degree to which education, or maybe programs like the one that you're involved with, might be either, helping with that situation, or maybe underscoring it. Does that connect with your experience at the summit?
So I actually just arrived. This is my third or fourth DML. Oh, it's CLS,
That's
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. So I'm familiar with the summit. So far the experience has been, I facilitated the program myself, and my role has shifted to program design and teacher professional development. So really building the capacity of educators to facilitate it and create their own lesson plans. From what I've seen in the program, it's been a lot of joy for the students. They've become really passionate about, we use primarily Scratch, and we've used Makey, and we've done a lot of sort of paper-based activities also. It's been like very joyful for the students, and also for the educators, actually. It's been huge for their development. It definitely resonates.
And is this in a context in the refugee world there where there maybe isn't a lot of other joy, and yet there's joy found in this, somewhat small corner of their lives, I'm expecting?
I mean, that's what the teachers tell me. I mean, the teachers are also refugees themselves. So, I mean, especially in Kakuma, I mean, it's a refugee camp. They're living in a very difficult situation. And for some of them, they are born there, they've lived there for like 18 years. They're in a protracted situation. So that can be really challenging because, you know, you can feel hopeless. I mean, this is like your life permanently. And for some of them, they feel like they can't live their lives until they're resettled, which is a terrible feeling. So I think having an experience like this, especially for adolescents, is just can take a break from that feeling and just to be engaged. As far as like the actual educational programming in a place like Kakuma, it's a lot of rote learning, unfortunately, large classrooms, and you know, you're dealing with like no electricity most of the time, definitely no connectivity. So like Scratch being offline is great. Like we didn't go into it like thinking that we would be working online. So we designed everything to be appropriate for the context, like battery powered projectors, because we knew electricity would go out. So, I mean, it's been like a lot of testing things, but it's flown like fairly well. I think the teacher professional development piece has been the most challenging part. But yeah, I think it's not something that you would typically find in that environment because it's not easy to do. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Jeremy.
sorry. And I think the context that she described resonates with one of the questions. And lack, how do you kind of like walk along and integrate all of that? Because that's one of the things that they experience in the camps, and you still want to look out for the fact that irrespective of where a person is, how do they manage to grow whatever the circumstances that are around there? Maybe I'll kind of like push it to Ariam anyway, that how have they been able to grow through the situation over time? Because it's a totally different environment when it comes to learning and relating and conversation and all of those things now. So how have they managed to do that over time?
Do you mean like the teachers or
the teachers and the students?
Oops, we lost them all together now. Hey, maybe you guys are switching networks. Okay, it looks like you're coming back up now, but we don't have audio yet. Nope, we're not hearing you. We got video, but no audio. You can still hear me? Yeah? Okay, we can't hear you. Just right as John was clarifying about being interested in hearing about teachers and students, we lost the audio. It's odd because the video looks really good now. Oh. It was working so well except for the cutouts. Oh yeah, there's maybe there's two different, maybe you're in two different ways because Jeremy is right. You're in the Hangout twice. I could eject one of you, but I'll eject the one that doesn't have video and see if that helps. Okay, now there's just, now they're all gone. Well, we'll see if they come back. Hey, for you virtual folks, it's been an interesting conversation so far, and I totally invite you to just jump in when there's a pause in the conversation, obviously.
Sure, thanks, Nick.
We'll wait for them to pop up. Again, it's ironic that you know, we're talking about a technical program and like what sound like they might be some of the worst conditions on earth at this refugee camp, and yet at MIT we still can't get a network connection. we can talk amongst ourselves too while we're waiting. Is this connecting with you, Dipali?
Yes, I can hear you fine, but I think we lost them.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but I mean the topic matter. Is the topic matter?
Yes, it's wonderful. So you know, it's really. I hope we can see them one more time. I believe they are very busy.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they come back in. You know, it was funny. I was also attending a virtually connecting session and watching the keynotes at the Digital Pedagogy Lab Summit that's also going on this week.
Yeah.
And there were some interesting correlations between the conversation there and here. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Yeah, please tell us about that then, until we wait.
One thing that really resonated with me in the conversation that was just happening was in Jade Davis's keynote at the DPL, she brought up the issue that, you know, I think especially in this first world context, we're often trying to, you know, as educators, we're often trying to get students to kind of interact with knowledge and skills. And so we have kind of an agenda of what we're trying to teach or help people learn, without often recognizing that young people are going through a lot of changes in their identity, and they are wrestling with you know, issues around their own identity and who they're going to be and how they're going to act in the world. And so there's a tension between, you know, the educational agenda and the, you know, the people that are there to learn also having a kind of different focus on life maybe. And it just strikes me as in the refugee camp, it sounded like it was almost flipped, where people's identities were sort of on hold in a certain way. And so diving into some, you know, even rote learning might be a kind of refreshing release from this kind of the way that their human life is on hold.
Right. Yes. So different perspectives, right? With global consideration.
Yeah, hold on. I'm also just double checking. It says actually that by ejecting them, I blocked them somehow. I wonder if there's a way to, I've never done that before, so obviously I shouldn't have. May have to abort the system here. Hold on one second.
We can log in back again, refresh the browser, and
yeah, it's not that. It's that when I kicked them out, it looks like it then blocked them. So I'm just seeing if I can change that. Huh. Looks like I would have to start a new Hangout.
yes, go ahead.
So I'll tell you what, why don't you guys hang up? I'll start a new Hangout and I will send you the link and we'll try again, at least to say goodbye. If you can't come back, that's okay though.
Wonderful, thanks.